evening. We've got a few days till the new year, and what better way to celebrate it than to rewind back the year that was. I'm Paulo Del Rosario.
And I'm Boom Gonzalez. It's all about this year's greatest hits, saves, and sets as we begin with talking all things volleyball in 2023. Let the games begin!
Well, new entrants in the finals, hosting tourneys, and a couple of rookie MVPs all in 1 year. Now here to give us the lowdown on the 2023 volleyball scene is volleyball analyst, player, and fan, Neil, the real deal, Flores.
An insider.
Insider!
So, anong chismis, Neil? Hindi ba pwedeng magsimula doon?
Hindi, kasi we have to go back on the year that was. Mama na yung future.
Kala ko eh.
Let's start it off here with the events that came in. Okay, the VNL in particular, Neil. We talk a lot about local volleyball in just a bit, pero yung VNL coming in, bringing the best of men's volleyball, again, was one of the bigger highlights in the Philippine local scene.
Yeah, this is probably one of our efforts to really expose the volleyball community in our country to high level of competition. We've been trying to do that for the past few years in the UAAP, in the Spikers Turf, but the VNL is just a testament that we can also support men's volleyball in the same level that we actually support women's volleyball. We hosted this in the Mall of Asia Arena, and naging sold out din yung mga games, especially the Japan games, and dito natin nakukuha yung influence also in gameplay.
That, you know, the success of, obviously, and that happening again this year was because of the success last year for both the men's and women's. What did us hosting this for 2 straight years, including the 2023, tell you about, you know, us and our fanaticism of the game and our knowledge of the game, Neil?
Well, in social media terms, the clout is here in the Philippines. And I
alam
know,
nila yun.
alam nila yun. The organizers know how to choose the teams competing here. And we're very excited because we are hosting the VNL again in 2024. And the United States, one of the fan favorites for sure, will also be playing alongside the usual teams in Japan. And I heard Paris, France. I mean, Team France will also be playing here in the Philippines.
Big teams, big teams.
A lot to watch out for. Really excited for it. And of course, let's go into individual stars in 2023 because we had a couple of rookie MVPs who actually did shine here in 2023 and got us even more excited for the future of Philippine volleyball.
It happens once in a blue moon. You don't often see rookies earn that MVP plum. But this year, in the men's and the women's division, it happened. Angel Canino for the LaSalle Lady Spikers and Josh Ibanez for the UST Golden Tigers. And recently, in the Challenge Cup of the PNVF, Josh Ibanez won the MVP award again.
And this is following, you know, and we said this before, we haven't had that, let's say, especially in the women's ever. And then in the women's dalawang sunod, which we will expound on that later. And then now, the next year, may babae and another guy following, of course, Marcus Pejo was the one. All right. We cannot, of course, ignore more recent events. And speaking of fan favorites, the Choco Mucho finally making its first finals. You know how, Neil, some people say making the finals is already a championship to some, and it shouldn't feel that way. But this one felt like that to them, and it was okay. Right?
It's really the journey of Choco Mucho through the years, not just this year, but from the time that the team was born. The Revisco volleyball program has been very supportive. You know, they also have one goal. It's really to have that sister team showdown. Every year, every conference, we've been trying to get that Choco Mucho and Creamline showdown in the finals. Pero hindi umaabot yung Choco Mucho eh. But this time around, they're gearing up for more finals appearances. Probably their first championship in the PVL. So look out in 2024 because aside from the other teams, they will also be beefing up their lineup.
Speaking about beefing up their lineup, Neil, ito, perfect segue na. Because of the fact na wala na yung F2 Logistics Cargo Movers, unfortunately, there are going to be player movements. And the first domino has fallen. Don Makandili Katindig going to the Signal HD Spikers in what we're expecting to be the first of many moves happening in the lead up to the next conference.
Well, the early announcement of Signal just says that they were all in the recruitment wars. having a veteran like Don Katindig manning the floor will be a weapon for the HD Spikers. Might be that extra push that they need to improve their record. They have been consistent in the bronze. And yes, there were inconsistencies in their defense this conference. But with the inclusion of Don, I'm sure that they will be targeting a higher podium finish.
Okay, so that's the general outlook. Be an analyst now, Neil, since we have a time to do that. What does she mean? We know that she becomes the backbone now of this defense, but this offensive signal will be better with her, including the defense. Obviously, what effect will it have with Vanny, who had a great year also?
When you talk about offense, Signal has always had these pieces. They have many combination plays. They have the best setter in Jel Cayuna. But sometimes, naninegate yung advantage pag nagiging erratic yung defense pattern nila. And with a woman like Don Macandili, who is very vocal in manning the floor, giving instructions, the outside hitters, the middle blockers, and the opposite hitters will have an easier time in gaining confidence once they attack their opponents.
Okay, let's go to the insider part. Neil, ay di pala, kailangan pala natin mag-commercial. Sorry, stay with us, Neil Flores, because after the break, walang chismis, but we'll list down the top performers in the Philippine volleyball in 2023. Stay tuned, you're watching the game. Welcome back to the game. The volleyball season, both for the UAAP and the PVL, has been iconic this 2023. Thanks, of course, to all the superstars, new and old, who play their hearts out or who played their hearts out every single time. But a special mention needs to be given to some key individuals that really stepped up their game and made 2023 theirs. And still with us to build the 2023 all-icon team of Philippine volleyball is our friend and analyst, Neil Flores. This must have been tough with all of the great names and great performances of the year. But that's why you're paid the big bucks, Neil. Come on, give us the first one.
This is the hardest choice that I had to make on this show. So first, I chose the setter. This was the easiest pick for me. It was Gia Morado de Guzman. You know, in most of the conferences in the PVL, she has had a lot of best setter plums, but aside from that, she has been very consistent on serving. Lagi yan nasa number 1 or number 2. And she's also a good defender. Right now, she's playing with the Denso Airybees, and she's been flourishing there. But I do hope that she comes back soon kasi nami-miss natin ang isang Gia de Guzman in the PVL.
Yeah, I think it says a lot that even now na wala siya for the last conference, she was still the benchmark of what an excellent setter is. And of course, I'm with you here. I wish she comes back and we get to see her locally.
And when she comes back, she brings back some technology. You know, if you know what I mean, about the transfer of technology, as they say. And maisingit ko lang, Neil, we talked about this. She was in contention for actual MVP in a conference. Some people actually chose her in their minds. No disrespect to the winner, but that's how big Gia was in the early part, especially.
100%. Now let's move on to another position here. As from this point on, it gets harder and harder and more controversial. Yan yung gusto ko. Opposite.
Opposite. Okay, so I chose a mix of PVL players and the UAAP standouts because we do want to get that long-term plan kasi ang end goal pa rin naman is to build a national team.
Yeah.
So for the opposite hitter, I chose Eliza Solomon of NU. And I believe that in the current UAAP, she is the best opposite hitter that we have. She can compete in the club scene. She can compete in the international scene. She has always been one of the best scorers for NU and the best attacker. So I can see a very bright future for Eliza Solomon.
And she got better as in their championship year, and then in the runner-up a year, she even got better.
Yeah.
Yun lang. There was another person who kind of gave them problems on the other side, and the open spiker position from De La Salle University. A star really came into the UAP this year, Neil.
Yeah, and for my outside hitter, since you already brought it up, these are two MVPs, one from the UAAP and one from the PVL. I chose Angel Canino of the De La Salle Lady Spikers, and I also chose Cici Rondina from the Choco Mucho Flying Titans. When you say that a person is an outside hitter, you always have to look at the non-scoring and the scoring skills. And for both of these players that I mentioned, they have it both. You can see them in the stat sheets, in the non-scoring skills, also in the scoring skills. And kailangan matibay yung loob talaga when you're an outside hitter. You have to save your team from crucial situations. So in the UAAP, in the PVL, we already saw like flashes of brilliance from both CC and Angel.
And the other thing that they have, both star quality.
Oh.
Star quality sila. Including na rin, banggitin na natin, one of your standouts from the year before, Bella Belen. Future is bright for the UAP.
Yeah, you know, you meant it just goes to show you the quality that the easiest position, according to you, was to pick the setter. And we picked two reigning MVPs for open, and still that was something you had to think about. Of course, let's now move on to the middles because this is another interesting mix that you had here.
Yeah, for the middles, I chose Thea Gagate from the De La Salle Lady Spikers and Maddie Madayaga from the Choco Mucho Flying Titans.
Yeah.
So I chose Thea Gagate because I have a strong feeling that she's already ripe for the pros. She's already ripe for the international scene. And sobrang versatile niya as a middle blocker. She's very versatile in a sense na kaya niyang gawin all points of attacks and she can block well. These are the two things na kailangan sa isang solid na middle blocker. For Maddie Madayag, she's rebuilding her sprint towards that condition na nakita natin kung paano siya before. But if that was just a preview of what she can do in the future, secure yung Philippine team with Maddie Madayag and Thea Gagate.
The leap that Thea Gagate made from the runner-up year of La Salle to the next year that the championship was, just so, I wouldn't say night and day, pero ganda nung yung improvement talaga. And then Maddie, of course, what a story with how many ACLs na ba yan? Pangatlo, di ba? That's 3 knee injuries that she has come back from. So, incredible story. We're with you on this one. And we're with you on your last one, which is the libero position, Neil.
So I chose Tang Ponce, our recently concluded best libero in the All-Filipino Conference of the PVL. When you are a second stringer, it takes a lot of patience to be able to wait for your opportunity. And she was one player that was just really ready to serve the team during the times na may off game si Denden Lazaro Revilla. But when she got that space, she took it up. She really showcased her skills na I can also compete as a first libero.
Yeah, there's something to be said about taking the moments, the opportunities that come right in front of you. And the very first Best Libero award for her. Congratulations to Thang, and of course, well-deserved spot in this icon team. But of course,
what a list.
Neil, grabe, it's a hard to top list. But we're not done with you yet. We have a lot more to talk about.
Hindi ka pa pinagpapawisan eh. Gusto namin magpawisan ka pa konti.
That's coming up next. Sana. Because after the break, we're wrapping up our 2023 Volleyball Rewind with some amazing plays and moments on the Terraflex. Keep it here. You're watching the game. Welcome back to the game. We're in for the home stretch of our 2023 Volleyball Rewind, and our resident analyst, Neil the Real Deal Flores, picked out some of the realest of the highlights here of his iconic hits of the year. So let's take a look at this, Neil. Let's go on with the most recent one, and one of the more iconic ones considering who the person is. Alyssa Valdez, the clutch queen. She had that incredible fifth set. In particular, of course, when you take a look at that, in that moment for Alyssa Valdez, it just goes to show you that class is permanent.
Yeah, there were a lot of instances that she scored the big points in the Creamline games, and these are the moments na if you're an Alyssa Valdez fan, tatatak talaga. Because it's not easy to sit out the first set, for example, and then play in the fifth set and score 5 points.
Right.
Only Alyssa Valdez can probably do that.
And
That's why it's iconic.
And then, Neil, every year, in the last at least 2 to 3 years, there have been doubts. Diba? Na parang, is she still the same?
Yeah.
The injuries are coming in, you know, age was always being brought up. And here she comes, delivering the killer blow on a 7th championship.
Yeah, so of course, right now we tried to play the video, but then it's not as clutch in terms of us getting it to play it. But let's focus on something that we do have at the moment. Choco Mucho and that emotional win against the Signal HD Spikers. For them, it was such a breakthrough. For all the fans, you can only imagine the emotions that they felt. And it's such an iconic moment here for this group in particular.
And it was one of the best semi-final series that we had in the PVL, and ang ganda nung pinakita ng Choco Mucho. It was just right that they entered the finals because whatever they played with Signal, nadala nila yun with Creamline eh. And it showed they really challenged the Cool Smashers. 4 sets, a close 4 sets in game number 1, a 5-setter in game number 2.
Correct.
And they just utilized all of the tools that they had. Some people would say na nagkulang ng tao yung Choco Mucho. I would agree. But even with that case, they still challenge their sister team.
And they're getting closer, Neil. They're getting closer for that first ever win, by the way, over Creamline Cool Smashers. Now, i-2-in-1 na natin tong last. Angel Canino and Bella Belen, as we talked about it, Neil, they were the last 2 Rookie of the Year and then MVP magkasunod. And then nagpakita na swag during the finals, the whole moment. And then naghag at the end, showing how sporting they are and how, you know, they've grown up battling each other. Your thoughts on the two?
That's the new rivalry.
Yeah.
For the Philippine
I
volleyball scene. Dati, it was Ateneo LaSalle, and then it's NU and LaSalle. But when you talk about player matchups, it's going to be Angel Canino and Bella Belen. We are curious if they will become teammates in the pros or will they go up against each other.
National team.
National
maybe,
team
yeah,
also. But the sportsmanship is always there for the rivals on Philippine volleyball.
For me, I want them to continue being rivals only because I love seeing them bring out the best in each other as competitors.
That's a great point.
Neil, we don't have enough time because we could have a whole podcast episode about the moments of 2023. But maraming salamat. Thank you very much for joining us here to wrap up 2023. Really appreciate
Thank you
once
so
again.
much.
Angel and Bella, star quality, just like our guest.
There you go. I like that.
We continue with our chismisan right after. You can catch the games and our show live and on demand on the Pilipinas Live app for just 149 pesos a month. Thank you for joining us. I'm Boom Gonzalez.
And I'm Paolo De Rosario. This has been The Game.